Okay, hello everyone. Hey, this is Rocky Ventura, and I am excited to start. Uh, well, it isn't my series. I actually went to training for this. The Army sent me to this course called the Master Resiliency course. Something I've been trying to do for almost, I'd say since I joined the Army. I think they rolled out this program back in um like 2011, I think. I can't remember, but I'll talk a little bit about it. But I'm really excited. This is my first time delivering it, so y'all are kind of my guinea pigs. But I think you're gonna like it a lot. This is intended for DoD personnel, Department of Defense personnel, and their family members. So if you are a DoD personnel or you are part of a family member, this is for you. But even if you know a DoD personnel, you may want to ask them about these skills. They're still going to be extremely helpful for you. But let's get straight to it. I'll go ahead and start it. And while I'm bringing up the PowerPoint, oh, wait, there you go. Okay. How you like that? Pretty cool, huh? I'm trying different logos out. I think some of y'all know that, later in life, I want to start this, I don't know what it is, I guess a performance or based organization where kind of help people increase performance, personal development, things like that. I guess help people achieve optimal performance. And so been playing around with this idea, this title called Intention It, pretty much to add intention to it, right? Be intentional, live an intentional life. I got really inspired by a book that John Maxwell wrote called Intentional Living. And a lot of what he writes is really about being intentional. And any person you follow who you think is successful really live an intentional life, right? It's not by accident that they get there. So I like the word intention. And then something about intention, it sounds kind of cool. So this is kind of like my first official rollout of the name Intention It. I've been kind of mentioning it in other videos. Maybe you caught on, maybe you're not. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this logo here yet. I'm playing around with it. Let me know what you think in the comments, if you think it's pretty cool. I have another one, but I don't know, something about this. It has an arrow. It's got a sword, right? I think it's pretty cool. I'm not sure if I like the way the words are slanted like that. I kind of got to read it like that, but let me know what you think. So let's go ahead and get started on this training. I'm super excited to do this training here. So when I went to the course, it was 8-hour days for 10 days, right? Monday through Friday the next week. So 2 weeks, 10 days work week. And so when I went to the course, this is what we did. And we had to take a test that was, I think it was like 106 questions or something like that. I mean, we had to get certified, and now I can put this on my resume, that I'm a master resiliency trainer. There's actually 4 levels. So I aspired to achieve the highest level. In fact, I did so well in my class that I got invited to participate in level 2, which is you can only get to level 2 by being recommended by the instructors. So hey, I did something right. Yeah, I'm very passionate about these topics, and I asked my boss if I could go, and he said yes. So I'm just very fortunate to be in an organization and have a boss that supports, my goals and my aspirations. So let me go ahead and pull this up here. All right, I think I am showing. Let me blow this up. Take off these subtitles here. See, it's writing what I'm saying. How do I turn them off? Maybe that way. Okay. Yeah, I think I did it. Okay. Sorry about that. Still trying to get used to this program here, but all right. So this program is, as I said, the Army made it for Department of Defense personnel. And what the leadership at the time realized is that a lot of the stuff that our soldiers are going through, perhaps it was suggested that it could probably be overcome if they develop a little what the buzzword is called mental toughness, right? If you're mentally tough, like things are going to happen as a soldier, right? It shouldn't be a shock that you live a life in the military. I don't think one should. Well, maybe they can be, but I think for the most part, people understand that there's always that risk that something can happen, and so it's our ability to understand that risk, and what do we do with that information, and how do we prepare ourselves when that risk comes, right? Not necessarily if it comes, but when it comes, because it's a reality, right? It's something's going to happen. And I would even take this further for those that are not in the military and ask, you know, uh, it's not a matter of like if things are going to happen, right? It's when they happen. And how are you posturing yourself to deal with those things? Well, so there's a word that the Army uses, and it's called resilience. And we partnered up with the University of Pennsylvania, and they were kind of like at that time. I don't know where they are stand now statistically, but I know when the program was developed, I mean, they were the world's leading agency for kind of the psychology of the mind. I think they have the positive thinking institute there. Um, Really great material out there. There's a book called Flourish, and the author of that, I think, is Dr. Segelman, if I'm not mistaken. Forgive me if I got it wrong, but anyway, there's a lot of smart people who put a lot of effort into building this program for the military, and now what they do is they certify soldiers to be advocates of this program in the unit. And so one of the things I would do is I'd go to my boss, and I teach. There's 14 skills in this program, and they all teach you how to build resilience. And by building resilience, we believe that you can enhance your performance. All right. And why is that important in the military? Right? When you're on the battlefield or something, you think we need the best performance that we can have. Yeah, right. So I would ask that question to you as well. Like, why would having resilience be important to you? And so the resiliency training is based on 14 skills that we believe resilience can be developed. Okay, it's not something that you're born with. We believe that you can develop certain skill sets to make you more resilient. And here we're identifying 14. There's probably more, but here in this program, they're giving us 14 to use. Um, and then on top of that, those skills are built upon what we call competencies. Okay, and we're going to learn about the 6 competencies. So all 14 of those skills build into those are fall into the 6 competencies that we'll learn. I'm anticipating this class being about an hour long, give or take. Sometimes it just depends. This is my first time doing it, so at any point in this process, you want to take a break and come back. I do encourage you to finish that. Now, we're not going through all the 14 skills, okay? We're just doing the introduction. We're not even touching the skills today, and so even that is a long. Remember, I told you this was an 80-hour course that I went to, 8-hour days for 10 days. And so and then I had to get certified. So it's a long course, and I don't want to sugarcoat it for you. I want to give you my best. I am going to, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but if you want the participant guide, let me know and I can email it to you. I think the participant guide really enhances your ability to learn these topics. So I really want you to download it and print it out, and then join me when I say turn to page this. Turn to that page and actually do the work. Learn from the participant guide. Let it help you to get a better understanding of what we're going through. Okay, I'm excited. We're gonna dive into this. Let's see here. It's pretty late. Well, what am I telling you? I'm in Korea at the moment that I'm giving you this class, and over there in the United States or wherever you may be, it's a different time for you. So it doesn't really matter what my watch says. I don't even know what time you'll see this because I'm gonna upload it, right? So Okay, so here's the mission statement here that we are trying to get at. And we want to teach you resiliency. Participants learn about resilience and the competencies that contribute to it. So that's what I said, right? We're going to learn about resiliency, and there are competencies that actually help you to become more resilient. And we're gonna learn some skills that go into that. So it says all of the skills that participants learn in MRT course build resilience by targeting one or more of the MRT competencies. All right. And then participants learn skills that facilitate optimal performance. Now, when I say optimal performance, what comes to your mind? If I say you need to perform optimally, does anything come to your mind? I'll give you some time to think about that. If I had an open forum here, I would ask questions. That was kind of weird, but really think about it. What is optimal performance? Optimum, right? Performing to your best capability. And then we know what the word performance is, right? So we believe that being resilient will allow you to achieve and enhance your performance to perform optimally. And why would that be important for you? Well, I know for me, to enhance my performance, or means it could mean the difference between me getting the next promotion or not, right? It could mean the difference between me coming home and greeting my kids when I'm tired and I'm like, oh, I had a long day. But if I can perform optimally, then I can overcome that, right? Because I have a resilient mindset, I'm able to overcome those things. So really our mission set is to get after, to learn resiliency, because it is a learned skill, 14 skills, in fact, that focus around the area of in 6 competencies that those skills fall in. And through that, we're able to increase our facilitate optimal performance. So here's the bottom line for you non-military members out there. Bottom line, or bluff, means bottom line up front. So when you tell someone, give me the bluff, I like to tell my kids that they already know this word. Trust me. Some of my kids are so like can be long-winded sometimes, and it's like, all right, just give me the bluff. I gotta go, right? And so yeah, I welcome you to use that word if you want to. It's a very common word in the military, but so here it is. You can enhance your resiliency and your effectiveness as a warrior. Okay, we're talking to DoD personnel here, but it can be applied to anyone. Your resilience and effectiveness as a warrior by using skills that build the competencies that contribute to resilience. All right, I gonna go to the next slide. All right, so here you go. When I talked about participant guide, just make sure that you get that. I can email it to you, rockieventura@outlook.com. That's RockieVentura@outlook.com. And then I'll send you this, and then you download it and you just participate in it. But here, in the meantime, go ahead and do this. Get a sheet of paper out if you don't have the participant guide, and just write down this thing. I want you to participate with me. Write down 3 words that capture resilience. Now, we haven't talked about our definition yet, but I want you to just really start thinking about what is resilience to you. Okay, go ahead. 3 words that capture resilience. Okay, so what did you come up with? Let's see. I know, like, when I first did this exercise, I remember putting like tough and unbreakable. What else did I put? Just like these real tough macho words, right? Like I just remember, yeah, like tough and unbreakable. Uh, kind of like withstand anything type thing. So, what did you come up with? Anything about that? Resilience? So here's how we define it here in the MRT program, the Master Resiliency Training program. A resilient individual is one who is willing to take calculated, necessary risk and to capitalize on the opportunity. I want you to write that down. And if you got your participant guide, you got this, you already have this definition. But in either case, write it down and really focus, circle, or highlight the word willing to, or underline it, right? Now, here are the big ones. To take calculated and necessary risk. Now, what do we mean when we say take calculated and necessary risks? Right? When you take let's start with that one. When you take calculated risk, what does that imply? What does that even mean? Right? It's like you're, let's say for instance, oh, I take calculated risk every time I'm in my vehicle, right? I make sure my vehicle looks fine. I put on my seat belt. There's always a risk that I could get injured, right? There's always a risk, but I'm reducing it, or I'm taking calculated risk by following the speed limits, by looking at the lights, observing the lights, doing my part, right? I am taking calculated. I have to take the risk. I got to go to work, right? I'm gonna take the risk, but I can make it calculated so that the risks are in my favor, right? So calculated and necessary risks. They're necessary because I got to get paid, right? And then to capitalize on the opportunity. What's my opportunity? For me to get paid, for me to perform well at my job. And so this is kind of a resilient individual is one who is willing to to do that. All right. They're willing to take those calculated and necessary risks to capitalize on a job. So when is when is a time that you have taken calculated necessary risk? All right, go ahead and write that down on your notes there. When is a time that you have taken calculated necessary risk so that you can capitalize on an opportunity? You ever applied for a job and you didn't know you were going to get it, but you said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm calculating that if I do my resume, if I build my resume, I look the part, I speak the part, I rehearsed for my interview. It's a calculated risk. You don't know if you're going to get it. What's the risk? That you embarrass yourself, you might feel bad that you don't get the job. So there's risk, yeah, but it's calculated risk, right? And it's necessary because you want the more money, you want better pay, and what happens when you get to capitalize on that opportunity, right? You get more money, you get more pay. So think about that. I have a family member, I won't say this family member's name, but I'm almost 100% sure they're watching, who had demonstrated this, because this individual is afraid to fly, extremely afraid to fly, as I understand it. And so this individual expressed their ability to be resilient when they took calculated and necessary risks to come see us, during the holidays, and even surprise my wife and my family. So that individual demonstrated the ability to take calculated necessary risks. They capitalized on an opportunity. They had an opportunity to come, and they came. And so great job on you. You know who I'm talking to, right? But okay, so resilience, let's see here. Okay, so resilience is the ability to grow and thrive in the face of challenges and bounce back from adversity. So here's the second part of our definition. It's the ability, right? Ability is something that you grow, something that you nurture. So resilience is the ability to grow and thrive. All right, let's pause there real quick and talk about grow and thrive. Well, what does that even mean? What comes to your head when we say grow and thrive, right? I know when I think of the word grow, I think of a plant. All right, a plant is it starts off as a little seed, but if you nurture it right, if you do what's necessary, you can grow it to its potential, and that potential could be a big tree. It could produce fruit, maybe. And so when it's living its potential, it's thriving, right? When it's living to what it's meant to live for, it's actually thriving. So we define resiliency also as the ability to grow and to thrive, to be your potential, right? To grow to your potential, not whatever you are now. You might see yourself as something small, like a little seed, but what can you be, right? What could you be if you overcame your fear of flying? What could you be if you applied for that next job, or you went to that course or that class that you've always wanted to go to? What could you be? Those are questions I want you to think at. So you're growing and you're thriving, and you're doing it in the face of challenges, and you're bouncing back from adversity. So it's a multiple part definition here. So you're growing and thriving, but you're doing it in the face of challenges. If there's no challenge, what's the point, right? I mean, those challenges are what help you grow, aren't they? I mean, even a plant has challenges. They face the natural wind and the four seasons, right? uh but those things are what make them more resilient. They make them stronger. They're like, okay, something in their, I don't know what they would call them in their plant genes or something, right? It's like it sends a message in their system that says, I have to be stronger in these winds and these, they just understand that the weather's come and they go and then they grow again. So you too have that ability, right? You have the ability to thrive and to grow in challenges. And not only that, but should you fall, you have the ability to bounce back. All right. You have that ability to bounce back. And this is really what resilience is all about. You're able to bounce back from adversities that happen to you. You don't just, you take a punch and you fall, and guess what? You're like, you just wipe it off because you know your body's going to heal, right? And you say, you know what? Okay, I saw that, and it's not going to happen again, and I'm going to keep getting up, right? So you're saying things, you're doing things, and you're living a certain way. This is what we call resilience. And it's not necessarily that these things don't ever happen to you. It's that when things happen to you, are you able to do the right actions to keep moving you in the direction you want to grow and thrive, right? Okay. So here's a really good example of what we mean when we say resiliency. Okay, it's kind of the difference between a tennis ball and an egg, and I think this picture really does say it all, doesn't it? Well, you drop an egg, and what happens? Is it gonna is it gonna thrive? Is it gonna grow? Probably not, right? Because it breaks. And we all know the Humpty Dumpty story, right? Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, and all the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't bring Humpty together again. I just wanted to see if I remember that. I'm sorry, it's been a long time since I said it, so there you go. I still know the Humpty Dumpty. But yeah, so we want you to be more like a tennis ball. I mean, you can drop the egg and it's gonna break. You can't fix it after that. All the contents come on, you spill all over the place, and you stay broken. And even if you put glue on it, it's still broken, right? We want you to be resilient like a ball. I mean, you can throw a ball hard on a wall, you can drop it softly, or you can throw it hard, and nothing happens to the ball. It just bounces back, right? It just knows what it is, right? And so it has the ability to be tossed and thrown and used in all kinds of ways. And some people take a lot of joy in using a tennis ball. And then some people get scared of a tennis ball, right? Because if it's thrown in their face, it hurts, right? But if you're using it for your advantage, that you can get a lot of joy from using a tennis ball. But what if you are the tennis ball? Think about how that affects you, being resilient, being able to bounce back. What does life look like when you're resilient? This is the point of the course here. I want you to ask yourself, what does life look like when you live a life of resiliency, where no matter the situation, no matter who is holding you or who's doing things to you, you can be thrown. It's not going to affect you. You just bounce back. But if you were the egg, people could accidentally drop you, or they could purposely drop you, or maliciously drop you, and you're gonna break. So know the two. That's a good picture there. Um, Here's another way to look at it, resiliency, since we're kind of looking at all aspects of resiliency. It's a story called Invictus, and tell me what thoughts come to your mind here. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from the pole to pole, or black as the pit from pole to pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. I just feel cool reading this. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried out loud. Under the bludgeonings, whoo, big word there, of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of shade. And yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate, and I am the captain of my soul. we like to put this in this course because this is a way that a lot of people think of resilience, right? Like, look at what is going on here. Whoever this person is, right? Like, they are going through some stuff, right? They are. Looks like he said he's in a black pit, from pole to pole. So it looks like he's maybe in a dungeon. He's locked up. I thank God for my unconquerable soul. So whatever's going on, he's not letting it affect him. It's unconquerable. He will not be conquered inside. In the fell clutch of my circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. So he's happy that he's like, no matter what he's going through, I haven't winced, I haven't cried, I haven't complained. I'm taking it. I'm tough, right? Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed, right? So basically, stuff is going on, but he's bloody, he's bleeding, but he's unbowed, meaning that his inner self is still intact. Unbowed, they cut your bowels and all the stuff from the inside comes out. Well, this is kind of like him saying that, but the inside's here more being like his character, like he's unbreakable. He can't be hurt, right? So his head, he's all everything's bloody, but he's unbowed. His inside is still intact. Beyond this place of wrath, oh, there's a fly there, sorry. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of shade. So he's going back and describing the place again. It's murky, it's bad, it's scary, it's horror, shade. And yet the menace of the years finds, so now we find out this person's been in here for years, and shall find me unafraid. So he's looking at his circumstance. He's saying, look, it don't matter. This is scary. This is the worst place it's ever been, but it's nothing to me. I got this. I know who I am, right? It's how I'm chirping it, by the way. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. And then here's what he says. It's so I am the master of my fate, and I am the captain of my soul. So wow, what a powerful poem this is. And it's used a lot of times to describe what a resilient person is, done it. And what did you think of when you heard this, or when you saw me read this right now? Are you kind of on board with how I'm reading it, or do you think other thoughts? What part of this really depicts, for you anyway, a resilient person? What do you think? Any of these here? I mean, that part where he says, I'm the captain of my soul. It sounds like he's saying nothing is gonna bother me. I can get on a plane and that plane won't steal my emotions, right? Because I know where I'm going. I'm the captain of my soul. And if I die, then so be it, right? So what? I got stuff coming to me. My God is good to me. I got, so you see how you could spin it that way if you're using kind of this mindset here. Someone can hit me in a car. I'm late to work, but you know what? I'm still in charge of my day. I'm alive. That person survived too. It was an accident, and I'm just happy everything's okay. So you see that this person is continuously trying to just look at what's good, right? Even though he's painting a picture of what's bad. So, all right. So this is one way that you can look at, you can kind of look at this stuff, or look at resilience rather. And it's just one way you can do it. So let's see of another way. Here you go. So this is from anyone know Winnie the Pooh, right? Winnie the Pooh. Okay, so he's got a friend named Piglet, and Piglet settled up to Pooh from behind. Pooh, he whispered. Yes, Piglet? Nothing, said Piglet, taking Pooh's paw. I just wanted to be sure of you. So Piglet was he settled up to Pooh from behind. Okay, so he's creeping up behind. I'm guessing it's dark, he can't see. He said, Pooh. Yes, Piglet. Oh, nothing. I just wanted to be sure of you. He's just feeling to see if he's there. You ever feel like that? Like you're a resilient person. Sometimes you just need to know that other people are there with you, right? And so we put this slide here now because we're showing you the different forms of resilience. In Invictus, we saw a tough person who's not gonna let anything happen. And then in here, we see Piglet, resilient, but hey, they just need a little bit of confidence that someone is right behind them, right? And so this is another way of resiliency. And for our military members out there, you know, we actually have a exercise when we're going into a room. Look at the guy in the back, right? The guy in the back is looking the other way because they got to. But sometimes what we do is we tap each other like this in the back, or we hit each other's leg or side or butt, and we just feeling them. We can't see because if we look, we're taking our eyes off the enemy and we can't see. But sometimes we just need to know that we're still there with the team, right? And so we just give a little tap. And so how does this play out in your life? Like, how do you do this when you need to be reassured that people are there for you? Are they there for you, right? This is kind of all these 14 skills that we're going to be learning, and I'm excited. But this is just another aspect of resiliency. It's not really just one color code and that's it. It's multicolored, right? There's multi versions of resiliency based on who you are and how you express yourself. So let's keep on going. So issues raised by Invictus. What is the role of emotion regulation in resilience? So you saw Invictus, how he regulated emotion. All these things were happening to him, but he had the ability to regulate his emotion and say, I'm good. You ever met a person that does that, right? Like, I'm good, right? You're in a car and like you almost get hit, and that person's just like, man, that was a close one. I'm not all cool, right? And so, yeah, you got your Invictus type people, and then what are the roles of self-reliance and strong relationships, right? Like you relying on yourself. Invictus, that person relied on themselves, that I'm the master of my fate. But then you got Pooh and Piglet, right? Piglet, he just needs to know that someone is there, and through that he gains reassurance of himself, and he feels strong, and that's okay too. That's another form of resilience. Okay, all right. Okay, so funny picture. I don't know why I uploaded like this, but trust me, this is not the video of someone's butt here. We're gonna move into a story now. Oh, I think it's starting. Okay, so we're gonna move into a story now of. So this is called. I think the dad's name is Dick Hoyt, and I can't remember the son's name at the moment. I'm sorry. I think they might say it on the video, but I would forget. I apologize. But okay, so it's a story of a dad and a son who participated in all these marathons. So the way it happened is, so Dick Hoyt, he was I think a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. He retired. And then his son was in high school. He's finishing high school, and in high school, oh, one thing about his son. So his son was born with cerebral palsy in very young age, and so he couldn't move his mouth, his limbs, nothing. He needed full assistance, and so he was going to school that way, and he couldn't move his body since he was a baby. And so anyway, in high school, the son found out that there was a child, a friend of his got into an accident at school, and they were doing a 5K run or something like that for a fundraiser, in order to raise funds for this kid. And so the son told the dad, the son's in the wheelchair, by the way, and he told the dad, Dick Hoyt, he said, Daddy, I want to participate in that, right? He wanted to participate. I don't even think he could talk at that time. They had to create a special machine so that he could be able to communicate to the dad. But anyway, so the dad said, okay, and the dad wasn't really a big runner at that time, and so um, he took his son on that thing, and when they developed this machine around that same time, so the son can communicate using his they had to put a piece in it, and that piece would communicate, so the boy can start speaking. They had never heard the thoughts of the son because the son couldn't talk, the whole mouth couldn't move, right? And so after the run, he was able to communicate to his dad that was the most fun that he ever had. Like it was the best feeling of his whole life. So the dad was pushing him on the wheelchair, and they did the 5K together, and that's how they completed it. So with that story, that backdrop, I'm gonna play this video for you, and I just kind of want you to just tell me what you think in terms of resilience, right? Like think about the dad. He retired, and he's going through this with his son. And then his son wants him to participate in a 5K. Think about that. Like, at my current age that I'm doing this video, I'm 39 years old. I'm already getting to that age where I feel tired. In a lot of athletes, they retire about 35, 40 years old. So it's not uncommon that I do kind of want to get in that mode of like, all right, I don't want to be running hardcore anymore. I want to be in shape, don't get me wrong. But there comes a point where these marathons and things, maybe you just kind of lose that and now his son in high school is wanting him to do it. Think about the kind of resilience he had. So let's watch the video here. Okay, let's see, how do I get out of here? 1 second. All right, sorry, trying to see how I get out of this. Okay. Wow, what did y'all think of that? Pretty intense, huh? So we're trying to show you through these videos and these slides that there's so many forms of resilience. It's not just one kind of resilience. Think about what I was saying. I know you said, well, Rocky, you said that guy just did a 5K. No, 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 no. That was that first resilience that he overcome, right? That obstacle, the prudent risk he had to take, the willingness to step out of the comfort zone to achieve an opportunity. And in this case, it was for his son. I mean, his son never had an experience. He's been in a wheelchair his whole life. And think about the opportunity that if he could just endure a little bit of uncomfort, what's on the other side. And for him, what was on the other side way outweighed any inconvenience or any thing. He had resilience, right? He didn't break at the first 5K. So he ended up doing 10Ks and 20Ks. He did marathons, triathlons. You saw him doing the bike and the water and the run. That's a triathlon. And these Ironman competitions. I mean, he did all that, and he had his son with him. So sometimes we just think of ourselves doing one of these triathlons. Imagine if you're pulling another body with you. That's pretty hardcore, right? But he did this all in the name of love for his son. Now think about that. The love for his son drove him to do this, and he was passionate. As I was looking for that video here today, I just recently found out that this year, in fact, 2021, Mr. Hoyt passed away. And so you can look him up, you can Google. But they did over 1,000, participated in over 1,000 runs, and it's wild, the statistics from age. I think he was 40 to I think Mr. Hoyt died at 80 something years. So. But wow, what an amazing story. The news captured their story several years, and they've just been all over the world taking on all these challenges. So it is resilience too, right? So let's take a look at some real life applications here. So you're juggling work and issues with other people in your unit, other guys in your unit, and one of your kids keeps getting sick. A soldier in your unit tells you that your support has made a big difference to them. I think about that. And you see how they set it up now, right? You're juggling work and issues with other people in your unit. And this could be you, right? You're juggling work. You got issues at work, and people at work are, on top of that, a family member is sick all the time. And yet a soldier or a person in your work or organization tells you that your support has made a big difference to them. Now think about that. If they had not been resilient, you're right. The implication here is that if you're reading between the lines here, my phone, give me 1 second. I think my computer's about to die. So let me plug this in real quick. Yeah, I gotta be resilient myself just before I freak out, right? No, I'm serious. I say that as a joke, but it's true. Resiliency is in everything we do. So there you go. Thing is plugged. We're good to go. But yeah, you see that is resilience too, right? The fact that someone said your support made a big difference to me. So even though he's juggling all these things, because he's resilient and he doesn't take his personal problems to work, he's able to still make an impact. Okay. Now, you've been under a lot of stress lately. your spouse or is starting a new job, and you made it brief to a commanding officer that was well received. Right, been under stress, your spouse starting a new job, so things are going on, right? And yet you were somehow able to pull it together, and your commanding officer that said that that was well received. So again, this is also resilience. When you're going through stuff and yet you're still able to muster it, to get it together, right? Like, come on, get it together. You splash some water on your face, right? And you're still able to push through. This is also a form of resilience. Okay. Let's see. All right, so go to your participant guide or write on a piece of paper. So discuss resilience using the quotes that are in your participant guide. I think it's on page 9, those quotes. But also write down your personal experiences and what we've discussed so far in the course. And what I want you to do is I want you to, you on page 8, I want you to create a list of the strengths and skills and abilities that you believe are critical for resilience, right? Go ahead and write down everything you think of. You might say, have a tough mind, a positive attitude, whatever you think yours are strengths, skills, abilities, what do you need to have? What is critical that you believe to be resilient? So go ahead and do that. I'm going to give you a few seconds. Just a few words. You don't have to write a lot, but just curious to see where you're at. Okay. Well, actually, from now on, I think I'm gonna have you pause the video. I think it's better that way than just me waiting. So yeah, from now on, just pause the video, and then after you're done, go ahead and start it. But and if you haven't finished, pause the video and do that. Okay. But here we go. We'll keep moving. So, what did you come up with? What kind of words did you come up with? Strengths, skills, ability. So, in areas of strengths, I talked about attitudes. You gotta have a strong heart, courage, right? Those are some things that came to my mind. Leadership, skills. I said you have to be able to skills and ability. You have to be able to communicate, right? To be resilient, you have to be assertive. Those are things that I remember when I first did in my training. That these are some words that I put on. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. So, what did you identify as the critical ingredients? This is basically what I asked you already. So, what did you identify when you mix them all in a pot? This equals resilience. What did you say? Go ahead and pause it. Reflect. Excuse me. Reflect on the video. If you're watching this with someone too, I encourage you to share each other's opinions and see what y'all thought. Okay, moving on. All right, so resilience overview, oh yeah, from invincible to invulnerable to ordinary to magic. So uh this is one of those slides. Remember I told you it's my first time giving this class. Invincible and invulnerable to ordinary. Oh yes, sorry, I had a brain fart there. Okay, so basically what this means is, so what studies showed when they were doing the research at the University of Pennsylvania is that most people tend to think of resiliency as being one of invincible or invulnerable, right? Like the Invictus story, and nothing can touch you. But what we came to realize when what the data showed was that it's actually just what we would call ordinary magic, right? It's just ordinary type stuff that when you apply your mind to think about what's going on, it's not that thing. It's not invincible. Some aspects are in there, but it's not about like, oh, you're this tough person like Rambo or something. You think of Rambo. Oh, actually, when I thought of resilience, I did think of Rambo. Um, but you think of some tough person, right? And it turns out that it's just everyday ordinary magic that you're just developing on skills that you have already, and you're able to make yourself a more resilient person. So all right, so let's go ahead and talk about some myths and facts, because we were just talking about, what we thought resilience was and what resilience actually is. Now, this is what the research actually says. A resilient, and please, if you think this relates to you, I want you actually on a piece of paper, if you don't have your notes or the sheet, I want you to write these down as we go along. Write down on one side, resilience myth, on the other side, resilience fact. And if any of these myths relate to you, or you believe them, if you believed any of these myths, just put a little star right next to it to see. And then at the end, we'll count how many of these you used to believe. And now, because of our training, you no longer believe, or you shouldn't believe, because actually data reveals that these are now the cases, the resiliency facts. Okay. All right. So the first resiliency myth is that a resilient person never shows emotion. I'm raising my hand. I used to believe that a resilient person doesn't show emotion. So if something happens to them, we're just gonna be like, and this is what I used to do, right? I'm good. And they'd be like, Rocky, are you okay? I'm good. And someone might have got me so mad, right? I'd be like, I'm good. And I'm doing this number, right? I'm just kind of giving them the cold shoulder. But actually, what the data shows is it's a resilient person does show emotion, but they also know how to regulate emotion. So if someone pissed me off, I maybe I'm still folding my hands now, but I'm at least communicating, right? And I'm saying, look, I'm a little upset right now about what you did to me. Okay. I just need a little moment, and I just need a little moment. But it wasn't cool what you did. I forgive you, if you're willing to. And so that's what it looks like, right? You're not doing this, and if you give people a cold shoulder, that's it, right? Like you're already telling you the other person, we're done. But how does that impact you in the long run when it comes to building relationships, when it comes to your ability? I mean, what are the chances that someone is going to hurt you again? Probably likely, right? I mean, people and people meshing together, it gets a little friction, going on. So to not show emotion, it's a myth, right? Because how does that help you become resilient? You're actually breaking yourself, and you're the egg. But when you can regulate your emotion now, remember, you're the ball, you're being bounced against the wall, but you're absorbing the energy, and that energy, the ball is able to absorb that. So that's what it is. You're regulating your emotions. All right. What about this? Only the myth is that it's only about the individual, right? Like when you're resilient, it's all about you, and you don't focus on anybody else. It's only about you, and that you're the only one, like the Invictus story, right? I'm the master of my fate. It's you're in control all the time. But what the data shows about resilience is that in fact it's about you. Yeah, it's about you. You got to own it, own responsibility, but it's also about others, right? What the data shows us is that resilient people, or those that are resilient, are those that have people to help them overcome. So if you got a best friend you can confide in, a spouse, someone close to you, perhaps your faith, right? These are things that define a resilient person. It's not that they just feel isolated. It's all about them, and they gotta deal with it. No one else can help them. But no, the data shows a resilient person knows how to utilize the power of relationships to make them resilient. All right, what about this one? They must handle everything on their own. All right, again, this is kind of like the other one in a sense, right? You got to handle everything on your own. No one can help you. But actually, asking for help is a strategy, right? I mean, think about it. Think about, I remember one time I was super stubborn when I was moving the first time from my college dorm, and I didn't know anyone that first year, and so I didn't ask for help, and I was so miserable. And I smashed my thumb, I hit my foot, something fell on my foot. It was a bad day for me, and there were some things I should have been using two people to carry, and it was just me. And so my resiliency, I was like the egg that day, right? But here, a resilient person, if I want to maintain my emotions, think about all the opportunities I missed to talk to someone because I was just so focused on me in my grouchiness.
and I missed all the other opportunities of people coming and saying hi. And they did say hi to me, but I just ignored them, and they probably thought I was a jerk. But yeah, a resilient person uses it as a strategy by asking for help. Hey, can you help me? Because they know that if they did it on their own, they're gonna get stressed, right? And so, okay, what about this? The myth is that always act fast. That when you a resilient person is just always they have an answer for everything. That if you don't have an answer, then you're not resilient. You're supposed to come on now, right? You're tough. Again, like my movie heroes, right? Rocky Bubble or Rambo or all these tough people that I saw growing up in my era, whoever yours might be, right? You see these movies, these action stars, and they're just always have an answer. They can get at it fast. But what the data shows is that they know when to slow down. This is what the data shows about actual truth about the resilient person, is that they don't need to provide an answer at that time. They actually say, well, let me think about that. They actually say that, because if they provide an answer right away, that answer could expose them or hurt them, and then they break like the egg, right? But if they want to be the tennis ball, what they do is say, I better not give an answer right now because I might regret it. So let me just think on this a little bit. They slow it down. Okay, so they know when to slow things down. All right, how about this one? They're always fully composed. Okay, I mentioned this one time about a person, being in a car with someone and they just seem always composed. But that wasn't always the case in other situations, right? Like they people get scared, people get nervous. I mean, we're humans, right? We're humans, and we have emotions, we have feelings, and so I think it would be unnatural, right, to not express that. Um, and here's what a resilient person realizes: you know what? It's not always pretty. It's not always pretty. Life is not always pretty, and some days you're gonna get frustrated. You may be going to work, everything you did everything right. You woke up, you left 30 minutes early to get to a place that's 5 minutes away, right? I mean, you left like really on time. And then you knew you had a meeting that day, so you set up, you did everything correct, and then a car hits you, right? I mean, you're gonna be composed at that moment? No, you're probably gonna be freaking out, right? Now, can you freak out in a way that still maintains your composure so your hair still looks good? Yeah, right? You might, and you might not. And that's okay. That's part of being resilient, is that like, okay, I'm going to allow myself to feel this way, and then that's it. That's it. It's done. I'm going to put it away, and now I got to go to work and be a professional. So, yeah, it's not always pretty though, right? Like sometimes we'll still go to work and we still might feel it, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you're not resilient. It just means that in order to be resilient, you probably do gotta right? And that doesn't look pretty, but that's okay as long as you're doing it purposefully and not because something is the urging you to do it. Okay. And that's what really being we're talking about being in control in that sense. Oh, here's another one, another myth: you either have it or you don't, right? You think of resilient people like, oh, they were born that way, they're natural leaders, they're this and that. But here's what the data shows: anyone can develop it. Okay, the data has revealed this. We give this class over and over again, right? As an organization for this class, we've given it thousands of times, and people who were not resilient at the end, they take the survey and say, wow, they're just blown away that by learning these skill sets, they're able to increase their resiliency factor. Okay. So yeah, it can be developed. Anyone can learn it. Anyone can learn it. And then here you go. Resilient people never burn out. You never run out of energy. If you run out of energy, oh, you were never resilient to begin with. This is the myth. And actually, what we found, the studies show, is that we understand that you do burn out, and this is why rejuvenation is important, right? The ability to sleep, little basic things, right? Like water. Our body is made up of what, 60, 80, 80% of water. So We need water. You see me getting my water. I'm thirsty, and I knew that I was gonna be talking. So in order to not scratch out and feel like, oh, I messed up this video and shut it off and start from the beginning, I did a resiliency strategy, right? Just prep myself with water. In fact, let me show you a little bit of that. Okay, so right, resiliency in motion. You're doing things to rejuvenate yourself. Look, I'm forgetting a lot of things that I said I wanted to do on this brief. You actually heard me say I had a brain fart earlier. Did I panic about it? No, right? I didn't, because it's part of the game, right? I'm not a perfect speaker. Should I strive to be? Yes, of course. I want to do this for future. Yeah, I want to be the best, but I understand too that it's not a perfect world and it's not always pretty. So, but yeah, going back to rejuvenation fuels resilience. If you want to give your best performance, be resilient, then think about how you're resting, how you're sleeping, and how you're eating, and your your emotional factor. Okay. All right. So this next part, we're now going to move into the competency. So when I started earlier, I said there are 14 skills that we will learn in this program. I got to figure out how I'm going to break those up. I don't know if I'm going to do one skill at a time or maybe two at a time. I got to figure that out. But this is probably going to be the longest lesson because I'm doing a big intro. Typically this intro lasts, I think it lasts like a half a day at the school, almost a 4-hour course. I'm really cramming this in. We're supposed to kind of break the exercises and make them go a little longer, but I didn't do that for this one. But hey, we're only halfway though, so it kind of gives you an idea of the timeline here. So if you want to pause it, this would probably be a good pause for you if you say like, oh, well, I better stop. Let me get some rest. Let me go to sleep. Just pause it, look at the time where you're at, and then we'll pick back up tomorrow. But for those who are still ready to go with me, I'm going to keep going. We can finish this section on the MRT competencies. So I told you there's 14 skills that develop resiliency. And all of those 14 skills are on a foundation of 6 competencies. Okay. So we're going to learn those competencies. These are things that once you absorb these competencies, you can now start building your skills on them. Okay. And you're going to learn how every skill is focused to strengthen that competency. And so we're just going to keep adding a brick at a time, so that the overall competencies are strong. And we're going to do that through the skills that we build, so that we can build resilience. So here's the first one. And I believe it's all of them are important. I don't remember the class teaching that one is more important than the other, but for me now, and I'm saying for me, this was the biggest one for me. Okay. I teach other things in the John Maxwell course and other programs. And when I coach people as well, this is, if I can get to this one, if I can get someone to understand this one, for me, this is the mother of all competencies, because awareness is the key that unlocks the door. Look, let me tell you like this. You walk around with a booger on your face, right? You got a booger. You don't see it. Other people see it. So they're looking at you and you're getting all these reactions and you're wondering, why are people laughing at me? You maybe if you're single and you're trying to meet someone and hook up, right? They're like shunned away at you and you're like, what is going on, right? And you just don't know. So you start getting mad at the world because all these people are laughing at you and you don't understand why. You go to your job interview later that day and you don't get the job. You just don't know what is going on. So finally, someone has the kindness to say, hey, have you seen yourself in the mirror lately? Right? And they say it with courtesy and professionalism and love. No, I haven't. Why? You might want to go check it out so that you can believe me, so that you don't think that I'm lying. But here, I'm also going to tell you, right? And then they tell you, you got a booger on your nose. Your clothes are very wrinkled, right? You're wearing a shirt with profanity. I don't know if you knew that you picked that one today. All these things, right? Your face just looks like you got an attitude from, God knows where. And so you didn't know these things because you were rushed that day. You put on the first thing that came out. You sneezed and you didn't wipe yourself right, so a booger was there. You grabbed the wrong shirt that said a F word or something, right? Your clothes were wrinkled. You were in a rush. You didn't have time to iron. And all these things are happening throughout the day, and you just didn't know because life happened until someone told you, or maybe you just came across a mirror. But in either case, it requires reflection, right? A reflection. And so this is the picture we use for self-awareness. It's the ability to see yourself. And if we're using the definition, it's the ability to identify your thoughts, your emotions, and then your behavior. Okay. Thoughts come in, those thoughts create something inside of you, an emotion. We like to say that, or I like to say it, the E is for energy in motion. It transfer, that thought's gonna bam, a car hits you. Energy is in motion, like, hey, I'm going to work or whatever. It creates an emotion, which creates a feeling inside of you. And that feeling is gonna prompt you to do a behavior. And so are you aware of that? That these thoughts, these thoughts that are happening inside of you, the thoughts that you allow, well, they're going to come in. The thoughts are going to come in, but it's how you interpret those thoughts. Like, what are you doing with those thoughts? Right? So, something happens, a car hits you. Okay. What's the first thought that you allow in your mind? Shit. Or is everyone safe? Right? Two very different things for realistic scenarios. Right? So what is your tendency to do? What's your tendency to go to in your thought? And then how is that thought impacting the way you act, your emotion, or impacting your energy in motion, your emotion, and your feelings? And then how are you behaving as a result of it? Are you honking? Are you a honker? Right? Are you a honker? Are you cursing? Or are you praying for people because there's an accident? What is your natural tendency? Be aware of that. This is a competency because awareness is going to drive resiliency. If you're aware of how you act, then you can control it, right? You can see it and you can control it. So identify the patterns in thinking and in behavior, but particularly those that are counterproductive. And so when we're talking about self-awareness, yeah, we want you to identify the good things, but specifically because we want you to stay resilient and not be the egg that breaks so easily, we want you to be aware of these things, okay? These counterproductive patterns, the ones that are keeping you from being the tennis ball. They're making you go to the egg, right? So what patterns of behavior are doing that to you? And then lastly, about self-awareness, I will say, be open and be curious. Okay. Ask yourself, why did I just do that? Why did I honk the horn for 10 seconds at someone I don't even know, who they could be in an emergency? So they cut me off, and no, it wasn't right to cut me off, but man, they might be needing to really go to the hospital. And I don't know that. I don't know. So why am I angry? Why am I angry at something I don't know about? Why am I afraid of a plane when statistically speaking, everything tells me that planes are the safest, transportation. And why am I afraid? Why am I allowing that thought to get to me when I have all the data to show me otherwise? You know who I'm talking to, right? And so these are just, some things. Be curious and ask yourself, why am I doing that? And why do I keep allowing myself to fall for this junk? It's counterproductive to the end result that I want. So why am I allowing it to occur? This is self-awareness, okay? This is, your light is turned on when you can do this. And you might not know how to do this yet, and that's okay. We're going to teach you a skill that builds on self-awareness. But I would dare say that everything on this program is self-awareness. The school doesn't teach us like that, but it's just the mother of all competencies, in my opinion. I think in order to be your best, you have to keep asking or keep checking yourself. Where am I at? You take a test, you get an 80. Okay, why did I get an 80? Why didn't I get a 90? Curiosity, right? You're asking question. Okay, and then you take it again, you get a 90. Oh, why didn't I get 100? So you're just being curious, and that curiosity is allowing you to get informed information to help you perform better. Okay, self-awareness. Now I want you to ask, well, it says, what are two ways in which self-awareness helps you personally and then professionally? Okay, so go to page 10 in your participant guide, or if you just have a piece of paper in your journal, go ahead and write self-awareness, number one. There is the first MRT competency. And then go ahead and ask yourself, what are ways in which self-awareness helps you personally and professionally? Now that we've defined it, how is it going to help you personally? Being self-aware. Maybe here was one that I put. I actually put this one. So on my personal side, I remember, a lot. I noticed that my kids really didn't talk to me when I got home. This was a few years back, but I noticed that they wouldn't talk to me when I got home, and it come to realize that I was a grouchy person when I come home. My first job, especially when I was a second lieutenant, that was the hardest job I ever had because I didn't know a lot, and I was put in a position 2 levels higher than my actual rank. And I was so stressed, and we were deploying, and I had an important, like a key position that I had to run and manage a shop. And so I was just super stressed. So when I come home, I didn't want to talk to anybody, and my kids picked on that I would be grouchy. And so self-awareness helped me to see that. In fact, my wife helped me to see that, and that was a good thing. But if she didn't tell me there was a booger on my face, I'd be walking around with a booger on my face. So it's one of those things, right? Like I had to have someone had to show it to me, because I don't even know if I looked in the mirror, I would have seen it either. I probably would have been too tired to see it, and maybe my mirror had so much dust on it, I couldn't even see anyway. Or I guess I got to wipe it down every now and then to see clearly. So, and then on the professional side, how does it help you professionally? So take these seriously, pause the video, write down your responses, and then join me on the next slide. So here we go. All right. So self-regulation, another competency. We're adding bricks to the foundation here, right? We're pouring the concrete at the bottom before we start building the house. And so self-regulation, it's the ability to regulate your impulses, your emotions, your physiology, and behaviors. And then I want you to underline to achieve your goals. Okay. So you're regulating, circle that. What does regulate mean anyway? Some of y'all remember that rap song, Regulators, right? So what does regulation mean? Regulate means to control, right? When you get cold and if you have central air in your house, you can regulate the temperature, right? You can just go to it and turn it up or turn it down depending on where you want it to be. It takes a little time for it to do its thing, but you're regulating the temperature that way by doing things. And you can regulate your internal body temperature by putting on a jacket or taking it off, right? So here, you're regulating your impulses. What's an impulse? Like something that just happens fast. We mentioned about the vehicle, right? Like you're driving and someone hits you from behind. What is the first thing that you say to them? Or someone, let's use a cut up. They cut you off on the road. That pisses everybody off, right? See, that's an impulse. It pisses you off, right? And so here you're able to regulate that impulse. Should you still be pissed off? Yeah, probably, because your life was at almost died, right? But now regulating means how high or how low are you putting that impulse? If you put it high, it might be like, screw you. And you throw something at their car as they're passing by, and you're honking the horn and all that. That's high. And then a low impulse from that scenario might be, I almost died. Right? Well, okay, come on. You got to wake up a little bit, right? You got to take things seriously. You could die. So regulating, right? Like being able to control that. That includes your emotions, and that includes your physiology, right? How you slapping things, you're emotionally cursing people out, your behaviors are acting erratic. And why do you want to regulate? So that you can achieve your goals. Is that the person you want others to see you as? I mean, do you want to be known as the crybaby? You know, and I mean this with respect. I'm not targeting anybody here, but do you want to be seen as how you're behaving? Because you are being seen as how you're behaving. You know, if you're always the crybaby, the nobody loves me, nobody cares about me, and it's just like annoying to people, right? Like, yeah, it's just like, you don't care no more. You know, it's like, oh, brother, here we go, right? Um, what about the complainer? You're always nothing's ever perfect for you, nothing's ever right for you, nothing's ever good enough, and so you're just nobody wants to do anything for you because your regulation is all the way to the top. Like, oh, of course the day went bad, or of course this, or of course that, right? Like nothing is ever good enough for you. So when I say to regulate yourself in order to achieve your goals, well, now something should have put a light bulb in your head by saying, "Oh, I gotta have a goal. I gotta know what I want at the end." And yeah, you do, right? Like you gotta know what you want. If you want to be seen that way, then act that way. But if you don't, then stop acting that way, and you can just regulate. And we use that word regulate, not delete, right? Like again, it's a myth that resilient people don't feel nothing. In fact, people just know how to regulate their emotions. Okay. All right. They express emotions. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Like my talking about boogers, I guess, and I got TMI, too much info. Okay. All right. I don't know what happened there. I think it was that video earlier that got me all. Okay, so they can express their emotions appropriately. All right. And then stop counterproductive thinking. So when you're thinking negative, when you're like, oh, when you're about to say it, you're like, oh yeah, I better not say that. Right. Like say my daughters are sharing a great story with me, like how they got an 85. And rather than, I could say, hey, that's great, you got an 85. Or I could say, you're so close to an A. Why didn't you just get the A? Now I just bomb their happiness, right? Like they might have worked really hard for that 85, but I just bombed on their happiness. So where could I have regulated my comments, my counterproductive thinking towards that? I could have just been able to partake in that and won the favor of my daughter because she wanted to expose herself and share her happiness, right? So these are things, all right. Self-regulation is huge. I still think it requires awareness, right? They all kind of feed on each other. But yeah, it's a huge one. So I think you know what I'm gonna ask you. What are two ways that helps you personally and professionally? All right. How can you self-regulate yourself at home with people you love? With things that happen when you're driving in a car. What are some ways that you can self-regulate yourself? All right, go ahead and write that down on your journal there or your page 10. And then, of course, answer the professional side too. Who gets on your nerve and what are some ways that you can regulate that? I mean, you already know they get on your nerve, right? So tomorrow, what are you going to do differently? And maybe you get them a coffee, maybe you're asking. Remember, awareness is like, why do they get on my nerve? What is it that I don't like about them? What did they do to me? What did I do to them? What could I do differently? That's awareness, right? But regulation is like, okay, well, I know they get on my nerve and they're still kind of gonna get on my nerve tomorrow, but I'm gonna do a little something different, So I'm gonna lower the temperature on the regulation towards in a way that allows me to get closer to them. So okay, pause the video if you need more time. Otherwise, we'll go into the next one. All right. So I said awareness is the mother of all learning experiences. But to me, optimism is the daddy, right? Mother, daddy, whatever you want to call this one. This one is like uh it's the punch, right? Like it's the man, it is the thing or is the vehicle. Yeah, it's the vehicle. I guess if awareness is a car, right, and you have a clear vision all around, you got your headlights on, if it's night, you can see. But optimism is the actual vehicle moving. And you think of it like you're either moving forward towards where you want to go or you're moving back, right? And so optimism is a long one, and there's many things we're going to learn on this scale. Throughout the whole thing, though, we're going to keep teaching you to keep moving forward, okay? We're never going to teach you to move back. We're going to teach you to keep moving your vehicle forward, forward, forward. And so an optimistic person, our studies show, is a person who hunts what is good. Like they keep looking for the good stuff. They hunt for the good stuff. Okay. They go around, they go looking, they go into a room. Uh, let's say the opposite of an optimist is a pessimist, right? So this is a person who looks out the window, and whereas one person sees the beautiful sunshine, like, hey, come and look. He invites the pessimist over. Come look. The optimist says, come look at this beautiful sunshine. And he goes and looks, and he doesn't see the sunshine. He sees a little speck on the window of dirt. He says, what sunshine? Look at that speck of dirt. That's a pessimist for you, right? Some people say one sees there you go, my little filter there, but one sees the glass half full, the other sees it half empty. But that's what a pessimist is known for. Just seeing everything in a way that doesn't uh, increase the opportunity to enjoy life. It really, like, you can't enjoy life when you're a pessimist because you're always focused on the bad stuff. And let's go to my example of my family member who is afraid to fly, right? And I think you'd be okay that I'm using this, but I'm not using your name. But yeah, you're afraid to fly, and as long as you're afraid to fly, and you actually revealed this to me, which I was very grateful that you did. But you had mentioned to me that because of your fear of flying, you've missed out on opportunities to visit us in our different locations that the Army has sent me. But think about the one time that you did fly, right? You had an amazing experience in that time. So those things, it's how you're focused, right? So you hunt for the good stuff, and you keep hunting for the good stuff, and all of a sudden your mind starts getting in that habit of hunting for that. So we have a skill set to do that. I'm not going to focus too much, but optimistic person has the ability to fight the negativity bias. Now we all have a negative bias inside of us. Okay, we all have it. It's a negative bias. Like, I think you should go to college. Well, yeah, but where am I gonna get the money? Well, I don't have the money. I don't have the. But yeah, you don't have it. But could you go to work? Could you join the military to get tuition assistance? Could you, like? There's so many options, right? Could you get a loan? Could you? There's so many options to do that, but you're just always negative about every single response. Everything is not good enough, and so what we found is that a resilient person has the ability to fight those negative tendencies, those sayings, those words, and just push away the negativity. An optimistic person is able to remain realistic. I don't want you to get it confused with an always positive person, right? Positivity and optimism are two different things. Hi, I'm happy. I'm happy. Right? We're not talking about like this fabricated happiness here. And so this is what we mean when we say they remain realistic. It's not that they don't see the issues going on in their life. They do. They see the issues going on, and they feel the issues a lot of times, right? Especially like when a car hits you. I think you feel it, and it sucks, right? It sucks you're gonna be late. It sucks that you gotta go through the insurance policy, all this stuff. It just sucks. But you're gonna what they say in these scenarios is, I'm alive though. I gotta keep reminding myself I'm hunting for the good stuff. I'm alive. It could have been worse. I still have my arms, my legs. I can hear, I can taste. Like, they choose to focus on that. The car thing happened, and they're not saying it didn't have a positive person might say, "Oh, that's fine. It's great." It's not fine. It's not great. Like some stuff happened to you today, and it's not fine. It's not great. but you're just a resilient person is saying, I'm not going to focus on that. It's there, but I'm going to do what I need to do to address it. I will emotionally express myself as I should, using regulation and being aware of how other people are seeing me. You see how these are coming together now? Okay. And I am going to be realistic about it. But at the end of the day, I'm going to keep focused on the good things that are going on in my life. And there are many. All right. So they do this by identifying what's controllable. And I think we can agree that if anything that's controllable, it's your mind, right? Like, I can do things to you, but you choose how to interpret those things that are being done to you, right? how how are you going to allow them to impact you? And then an optimistic person, studies found that they maintain hope. All right, a hope for the future. It's not a wish. It's not a wish. A lot of people think this word hope is like, oh, we use it like a wish, like I hope it happens. No, no, no. The word hope in the Greek anyway is, and I get this from the Bible. They use the word hope a lot, and in the Greek word from the Bible, it actually means a longing for something that is going to occur. Right? The word hope means it's gonna happen, right? So they maintain this sense of hope, like for the future, like good is coming my way. And it goes back to the first one, right? Hunt for what's good. But you can also do that for the future coming your way, right? Good is coming my way. Yeah, this one isolated bad thing happened to me today. But what's that compared to the rest of the day? I'm still breathing. I'm still, and I'm still going to be breathing an hour from now and 10 hours. You're just focused on good coming your way. All right. And then they have confidence in self and in the team. So an optimistic person, no matter what happened, no matter what you did, no matter what the team did, you have confidence that we're good. Like we're good in our abilities. We're good in what we can do. We're good. Okay. Optimism is a good one. So what am I going to ask you? What are two ways in which optimism helps you, and personally and professionally? And while you're doing that, I want you to ask yourself, why do you think we use this POW picture here? POW, and then MIA, missing in action. POW, for if you don't know, means prisoners of war. MIA means missing in action. And so a POW is a person who's a prisoner of war. So the enemy or someone that has captured them. And we hear a lot of these stories, right? And then they, when they get released, or when we find them, it's amazing. They write books, or they'll come on the news, and they'll usually get asked, like, what is it that helped you to get through all those years being in jail or being beaten, or and a lot of them will say they just had hope. Like they had a hope. They believed to the core that they would be able to make it through. But if they didn't, they were okay with that as well, because they had set an expectation in their mind that no matter what, they were going to choose to focus on the good. So even if they got food, it might not have been a steak, right? It might have just been a little piece of rice. But they said, you know what? Thank you for that rice. If they got a little dab of water, they said, thank you for that water. If they got beat by a stick, they said, thank you that my ribs weren't broken. Isn't that wild? Like, it's wild, right? But you have this ability to do that too. Like someone treats you mean at work, you say, well, thank you. That not everyone treats me mean. Just maybe one person treated me mean. And thank you that they didn't treat me that mean, right? I don't know. Sky's the limit with how you want to play with this. But that's what resiliency can do, right? Instead of being the egg, you're the tennis ball, and just by doing these things, you can do that. So again, personally, how will optimism help you, or has helped you? Either one, has or will. In your personal life, if you learn to be more optimistic, how can it help you personally and professionally? Pause the video and go ahead and answer those. All right. I got a question for you. Can you have too much optimism? What do you think? Can you be too optimistic? All right, let's find out. Okay, let me see here. Optimism is critically for peak physical and mental strength. Oh, I'm sorry. Optimism is critical for peak physical and mental strength. Why would it be? Why would we include a slide that says it? Why does optimism matter? But specifically, why would we say that optimism is critical for peak physical and mental strength? Meaning you want to achieve the best performance that you can and have the best mindset to do it. Why would optimism help you do that? All right, so if I was in a class, I'd be hearing responses, and I'm willing to bet that you're probably thinking of saying, well, if I'm thinking negative, I'm going that way, right? Because what does negative do? Like in our natural state, think about our natural state now. We are naturally inclined to be negative. This is not a bad thing. I mean, I can go into science here, but think about the way your brain is wired. Your brain is wired to live outdoors. We live in cities now and apartments and houses. I get it. But when we were created, for those of you who believe the creation story, you weren't created in an apartment, right? You weren't created in a house. You were created outdoors, and those outdoors, there was all kinds of the nature was out, and then well, according to sin, that kind of broke that away. We used to live with animals according to the Bible story, and then all of a sudden sin entered the world, and now we have these animals that can eat us, and you mix the dinosaurs into that back in the day. So no matter where you come from, evolution or creation, both stories paint a picture that we weren't born in a city, right? We were born outdoors, and being outdoors creates a certain element of our natural instincts inside of us to protect ourselves from the elements, from the weather, and so we are naturally inclined to be side on the fear factor, right? Like our senses are kicking in, like, hey, watch out for that tiger, right? And so now our tigers look a little different now, don't they? They look like a person who screams at work, a person who's trying to take your job, a person who might cheat on you. These are our new versions of lions these days, right? Like their social media is a lion. There's so many versions of these lions now. We don't really see lions and tigers anymore, but the fear factor has not gone, right? Our brain has changed to different environments. And so why is it important to be optimistic? Why does it matter? Because if you're just fall into the negative side, you'll be so focused on that it could literally um, work against you. But being optimistic helps you to move forward and say, I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better. And doesn't it take an optimistic person to say, I'm going to get better? And by going to get better, you're actually going to reach your peak performance and have that mental strength. So there you go. That's why optimism matters. So optimistic thinkers, have you noticed that this one is way more slides than all the others? But optimistic thinkers compared to pessimistic thinkers. So we talked about this a little bit, but studies show that they're generally more happier and have less depression. So when you choose to focus on the good, optimistic people are generally more happier. Okay. They're healthier, they have fewer illnesses, faster recovery, and live longer. Okay, so they live longer. And this is data, by the way. I'm putting these as bullets, but if you were to read my notes that I have here, I would, I could quote all these agencies that did this study and that study, and they actually showed optimistic people are happier. They live longer. They're seen as better leaders, right? I mean, would you want to follow? Do you want to follow someone who's negative? You probably don't. I would not. I don't say, can I find the negative leader, please? That's the one I want to learn from. No, you don't. You say you look for someone who's got something going for them. They're positive. They actually think that they get results, right? Optimistic people have stronger relationships. Okay. Their relationships are strong. They do better in sports and perform better under pressure. So you think of these people as like, and that preferred person performs well, right? But these are an optimistic person generally, and then they're more successful at school and at work. So there are other things, but these are some big ones about optimism. Okay. Now, how does it do all that? How does optimism do all that? Okay, well, optimistic thinkers focus on solutions when change is possible. Okay, and acceptance when it is not. So they're realistic. We said this earlier about optimistic thinkers. They focus only on what can be changed, and if something can be changed, they do it. And a lot of times, it's their attitude, right? It's the difference between saying I quit versus okay, I failed in that one, but I'm gonna keep going. It's the difference, and that person is going to be successful. But there are some things they won't be able to change, right? Like you can't change the weather. It's gonna happen. It's gonna rain. But you could get an umbrella, right? That's in your control to keep you from getting wet. You can wear a jacket to stay warm. So yeah, these things. The thing about life, I would say, here I go philosophizing, but um, it's just cyclic patterns, routine patterns that keep happening, like the four seasons, right? You got your summers where things are beautiful. You move into the fall, things are really beautiful. It's starting to get a little cooler, but you kind of just love that breeze. And then winter comes and it's like, oh no, you're just kind of miserable, you're cold, gotta clean the ice, all this stuff, the snow move, all of that. But then spring comes and you start getting happy because the snow starts melting, all the flowers come to life, and then you get to enjoy the summer again. And that's really how life is, ain't it? Like you don't live this summer your whole life. You got a little bit of falls, you got some springs, you got some winter. It's just nonstop over and over again. So optimistic thinkers are more accurate about how much control they have. They're not lying about it. They say, you know what, I got this much control and I can do that. And then they to some other things, they might like to an alcoholic, maybe they might say, notice an alcoholic, they say, I am an alcoholic, right? Because they realize at that point they don't have control and they want them to admit that. All right. That's part of the tenets that they want you to admit that you're not in control. But by them going, they got some control because they can go to it. And then they also rely on other people to help, like encourage them. But so they're realistic though, right? They don't have full control and they know they need help. They take better care of themselves. Optimistic people do. They take care better, so they are more likely to try new strategies when current ones aren't working. I said this earlier about, if you fail, you're now utilizing the other competency of you're curious, you ask why, self-awareness. Say, what did I do wrong? I got a F. How, what did I do wrong? And then you start looking into that, and then you figure out how you can fix that. And then you learn from failure and find meaning in your setback. So finding meaning in your setback is important. Okay. So it's not just about, oh, I failed, I'm a loser, right? It's not just about that, but you're actually saying, it's good. I failed. I'm getting, that I heard this story about Thomas Edison when he was inventing the light bulb. Hey, someone says, how many times have you tried it? And he goes, why? I failed 5,000 times. And they're like, 1,000 times? Aren't you like burned out from that? Like, aren't you tired? He's like, no, I just found out 1,000 ways of how not to do it. Like he's getting more closer to his goal, in other words. And so he finds meaning in his setback. He learned to turn it around and say, uh, I think it's Michael Jordan who's quoted as saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Now you're gonna miss some shots, but you'll miss 100% of them if you don't ever take them. So take some shots. Yeah, you're gonna miss. That's part of the game, right? But you're still focused on the outcome. That's what optimistic thinkers do. So mental agility now, all right? Mental agility, think of the word mental and then think of the word agility. I want you to spread them apart. Mental is your mind, right? But then agility is your ability to move left and right. Like I think of agility like say you're on a log and then you jump to the other log and you're like whoa, 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 and you balance it out and you just stabilize yourself. And then you're like, okay, I gotta keep moving, I gotta keep going. So you jump to the other log and you're like, whoa, right? Okay, that's agility, right? You're able to do this and that, and you can jump and go lower. You're agile, right? And so how does that look in your mental capacity? This is another competency. A mental agile person is a person who thinks flexibly. They're not rigid, they're not stuck in one way. It's like, well, my parents always did it, my grandparents always did it, my blah 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 blah, right? They're not stuck. I think of I've seen a lot of movies. I can't remember that. Was it like something X or something? Anyways, it's about a person who was in like the KKK or something like that, and he had a history of family members that were in the KKK. And then he didn't buy into that anymore, and so he was able to, through mental agility, learn, like, why do we believe that? And it turns out that it wasn't serving him anymore. He didn't believe it, and it wasn't serving him anymore. And so he goes and he changes his life, right? Or how about a person who approaches a new job and they just got this culture, like, oh wow, and then you at that point you have the option to buy into that culture and say, this is an unproductive culture, I shouldn't have took this job. Or through your mental agility, you can learn to kind of see what's possible, right? And you can say, well, there are other perspectives to this matter. They haven't done this, or so that's mental agility. Like you're still doing this jumping around and you're moving this side and that side, and you're seeing all angles. And so there's this acronym here. It's called think flexibly, accurately, and thoroughly. So you're flexible, you're not rigid, you're not thinking one way, but you're able to think like, well, what if it's this or what if it's that, right? You're flexible, like Gumby, right? But you're also thinking accurately. You're not like shatter spotted all, your thoughts aren't just like everywhere. You're laser focused. You know what you want as the outcome, but something is blocking you, so you don't just stay rigid, and you start, through flexibility, you're able to maybe squeeze into the hole there, right? Or you're able to move around, and then you do it thoroughly, right? Like you're taking your time, you're really focused on that. Another aspect of mental agility is the ability to take other people's perspectives in mind. So you're able to look at it from their eyes, like, wow, well, I just did this or I just did that, but I wonder how they view it, right? I know when I first became a leader, I didn't really buy into this. I didn't even know about this. But when I became a leader, I was like, it's all about me, right? It's all, hey, everyone, I'm here. I have arrived. I'm in the building, right? It was just always about me. I was like, it always had to be about me. And then I started realizing from other people's perspective, wow, I probably look like a pompous idiot, like so self-absorbed, so like a narcissist, maybe. I started thinking like how other people view me, how other people see me. And so yeah, so taking other people's perspective, hey, what do you think? What do you think of my performance, or what do you think of me, or what do you think about if I do this, right? And be okay with that. Don't be rigid and be like, no, just be flexible. They might not agree with you, they might not, but what we learned is that resilient people have mental agility, and they're not rigid, they're flexible. uh Identifying and understanding problems. All right, so you're not letting the problem just slap you in the face and ruin your day. You're actually trying to pause a little bit, and you're trying to say, why does that problem exist in my life? Why do I keep getting so mad every time so and so calls me? Or why do I keep why do I have this look of disgust every time I see so and so? Why do I do that? You know, what is driving that? Why do I get scared every time I think of a plane? What can I do about that? You know, has other people overcome fear of flight? How did they do it? What did they do? What do I need to do what they did, right? These are mental agility type questions that you can ask yourself. So you're identifying and you're understanding the problem. So this problem is I'm afraid of flying. Identify that, but understand why that is, right? And then be willing to try new strategies because what does it say? The definition of insanity is expecting change while doing the same thing over and over and over and over. You're saying you're afraid of flight, you're saying you're tired, but you're not doing anything to change it, right? You're not taking new strategies. Has someone overcome flights? Yes or no? Yes, right? Yes, someone has. But why haven't you? If they can do it, you can do it. And it's the same thing for other subjects, right? Like, why are you still stuck in the same financial situation? Why are you still stuck in with that spouse or person you're with that's not making you happy, or that beats you, or worst case, or whatever, right? Like, why are you still in the same situation? And it's because you're rigid. You think there's no answers, but there is. You just haven't identified the problem yet. And you don't understand the problem. And because you don't understand it, you're not willing to try new strategies. But what we learned is that resilient people, they know there's a problem, they identify, they understand it, they take the time to understand it, they're able to get perspectives on it, and they're willing to try something different to get out of it, to solve the problem. We're going to teach you how to do that here. Okay. That's one of our skills. I'm telling you, this course is amazing. It's going to change your life. All right. Guess what I'm going to ask you? All right. So, what are two ways in which mental agility helps you personally and professionally? Go ahead and write that down. Um, yeah, pause the video, write that down, participant guide, page 11, or in your journal. What are two ways that in which mental agility either has helped you, or do you believe it can help you once you learn the skill, that you believe based on what I told you so far about it? How will it help you personally, relationships at work, or professionally at work? And write that down. Pause the video if you need more time. I'm gonna move on. All right, this is a long video, ain't it? Maybe if you took me up on that offer, you actually stopped before I stopped the competencies. So maybe this is day 2 for you. I don't know. This is still day 1 for me. My throat's getting a little scratchy. I said earlier, part of resilience is that I knew that was going to happen because it typically happens when I speak longer than an hour. My throat gets a little scratchy. So strengths of character is the next one. Now, this one talks about, so we all have certain strengths about us. I said that leadership and resiliency, you're not born with that. Like, you're not born with that skill set and you're the best at it. But you do have certain things about you, certain characteristic traits, excuse me, that you can rely on or use so that you can get further faster in your life, whatever you're trying to do. Okay. And some of these strengths you can play off of and use it to your advantage. So this is a competency to know your top character strengths and how to use them to overcome challenges to meet your goal. All right. Have faith in one's character strengths, talents, and abilities. Resilient people, that they do that. They identify their character strength and they say, okay, this is the core of who I am. These are my character strengths. Excuse me. And so I'm going to use those. I'm going to have faith that, okay, since these are my character strengths, let me use them. Look, I was very, very young when I identified that I had the ability to communicate well with people in a manner that can gain influence. All right. Very young. I just liked being a leader. I don't know why. In those days, I would say I did know why. I would say that I wanted the attention. I liked the power in those days, but I was just too young, and no one really kind of channeled that potential inside of me to use it for a way that I use it now for positive. And back then I used it for me and it wasn't good, it wasn't right. But my character strength was people. I loved being around people. I loved I was a servant heart. And so those are just some character strengths that I'm saying, but there are actually some, like, I think there's 24 character strengths that this program identifies. And you can take that assessment. I got to post that online. Let's see, when I post this video, maybe I post the link at the bottom. You can take that assessment for free. It's about a 20-minute assessment, and you're going to ask all these questions, and then it's going to give you what your character strengths are from 1 through 24. And the interesting thing is we all have all those character strengths. They identified 24, I think, if I remember correctly. Well, we all have those strengths, but some are going to be a little higher than others. And that's what we're talking about when we say character strengths. All right. Learning to use those inner things inside of you. You call them talents, abilities, right? Learning to use those strengths to get what you want, or, meet your goals, so that you can demonstrate the kind of attitude. When the Army says, I am strong, what does that mean when we say, I am strong? I am Army strong. Well, to some people, that means courage. To some people, that means love. To some people, that means sacrifice and loyalty. So all of them are correct, because you're using your strengths to make you live up to that word that says, I am strong. Okay. So understand that there's no character strength that's better than the others. It's better because it's yours and you're learning how to use your strengths. And that's what this one's about. So how can identifying your strengths are two ways in which strength of character helps you personally and professionally. All right. If you were to know your character strengths, which you will soon, you might, and I do encourage you before taking the assessment to really ask yourself, what do I think my character strengths are now? Right. Maybe it's spirituality, maybe it's love, maybe it's teamwork. Like, what do you think your character strengths are? And then take the assessment, and then let's see if you thought you got it right. I did not. I thought I was these. I ended up being this. And then I started thinking about it. I said, yeah, I guess that's true. I was pretty shocked. So, okay. All right. The last one here is on connection. All right. And connection. So resilient people are able to understand the power of connection. Here's what this means. They can build strong relationships. Or they have that ability, or they understand the importance of building strong relationships. So therefore they build strong relationships. They're not out trying to make enemies of people. They're not out, they understand every single relationship counts. I tested a person recently. I'm not going to say a name or identify who, what, when, where, why, right? But I tested a person recently. They were talking about, you know, um, they were talking about their person of interest, right? And the person, that they like or they love. And this person was saying, uh, you know, these, well, I gotta go. These, it's kind of hard not to identify characters. So I'll say at least the sex. So that she was saying that these other females keep looking at her boyfriend, or right. And so so she started acting differently in front of them, and I was like, okay. Now she claims to be a religious person, a person of faith. And, to people who are not of the faith, right? Like, one of our goals of the person of faith is to attract them to the faith. And so, I kind of challenge that, like, by having that kind of attitude towards them, like, yeah, they may have an attraction, and that's not always cool, right? You would hope that people will be responsible enough to kind of like, hey, stay away. But that's not always the case, right? We can't control them, but we can control us. But we can't control how we treat them, right? And so if our ultimate goal is to attract people to the faith, how would you giving them that cold shoulder, or or not talking to them or ignoring them will help, right?
And so it's that inner jealousy part impacting them and their ability to build potential relationships. That might be the situation now, but what if they really became friends and they, you know, there's so much potential to go different ways. Now, look, I'm not trying to say like these things are easy, but I just want you to use awareness as an opportunity to use mental agility to think like, what is your end goal here, right? Like, what are you trying to achieve? If you're trying to bring people to the faith, is talking bad about people gonna be attractive to those people? Probably not, right? Mhm. All right, so connection, resilient people know how to use positive and effective communication. They think about what they email, they think about what they post, they think about what they wear or how they communicate themselves, think about what they say. They're very intentionate, right? They intention it. You like that? Okay. So they're very intentional with how they want their outcomes to be, and so they act that way. They develop empathy. I like how they say that, right? They develop empathy. It's not something you're born with. What's the difference between empathy and sympathy? Well, a sympathetic person, let's say a person falls in a hole, right? A sympathetic person walks by the hole and says, "Ah, oh, I'm so sorry you're down there." And then they walk away. An empathetic person says, "Ah, you poor thing, how did you get down there? Here, let me reach down, get dirty with you. Let me pull you out, or let me go in there with you, right? So you're not alone, and maybe someone will save us because I got a phone, or I don't know, right? But that's the difference. I just kind of wanted to give you what that looks like. All right. So the difference between sympathy and empathy is empathy, you're with the person. Whereas sympathy, you're just seeing the person and you're just acting like, you feel bad for them, but well, at least that's how it's portrayed. It comes off as like you don't really care. You're just doing your part. And I kind of think about this on Facebook, like so many times you see people post like, oh, my father died, or oh, my this one is in the hospital. I think about all these people who post it, and I'm sorry, I don't mean, I hope it's not coming off rude, but it's just an action that I do. So please don't take it personal. I'm just trying to give examples here. But, I don't necessarily post on that post that they post. What I do is because I really want to experience it with them, I actually write them a message and I like, hey, I saw your post. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Hey, let me know what I can do, or send me your address. I can send you a care package, or, something that's more than just the typical, my condolences, like, and it's not a bad thing. If you do that, it's not a bad thing. But that's sympathy, right? Like you're expressing sympathy versus empathy. You're just posting the post. You did your good deed for the day and you're out. But empathy, it doesn't, no one, you don't care if anyone's looking. You don't care, you just care about the individual. And you know that being with them and experiencing it with them, even though you don't have the solution to make them feel better, but just being there with them, kind of like Piglet and Pooh. When I told you, Piglet just wanted to know that people were there, that Pooh was there, right? And so that's kind of what we're talking about here. Empathy. All right, and then being willing to ask for help, and then supporting others. So this is all in the lines of communication. Resilient people can ask for help, but they also can support others, right? The empathetic person who sees the person in the hole, hey, I see you down there. I'm sorry you're down there. Let me help you. What do you need? What can I do for you? They support others. All right, as we have done in the other ones. I don't know why I didn't do this one. Go ahead and write down personally and professionally how you use connection, or how connection can help you to be a better to improve personally and professionally. How can connection help you? All right, pause the video and do the exercise. Don't just go through. I'm gonna go through, but you do the exercise. I've done my exercise. I passed the class, so I'm good. Right? Okay. All right. My throat is like, woof. Okay. So MRT skills make you stronger, not softer. At the end of the day, these are what MRT do for you. Does does for you. Does for you. They increase your ability to cope with stress. Check. They increase your ability to overcome setbacks. Check. They increase your ability to solve problems. Check. They increase your ability to remain task focused. I thought I was going to say check. I'm not going to say. Okay, I'm going to say check. Check. And then they increase your ability to perform under pressure. They increase your confidence, and they decrease helplessness and depression and anxiety. Look, are you feeling any of these, by the way? Helplessness, depression, and anxiety. Those are the big ones right there, right? Helplessness, depression, and anxiety. If you want to decrease those feelings, I'm going to tell you, these competencies, these skills you're going to learn, becoming a more resilient person is the solution. Of course, if you're a spiritual person, I'd say relationship with God. All right, but this is we're focused on 14 skills here, okay? And we do talk about spirituality later in some of the courses, by the way. But so yeah, helplessness, depression, and anxiety. If you want to reduce those, and I would dare say get rid of them, right? Learn how to regulate them, right? Or really get rid of them. You don't want to be helpless. You don't want to feel depressed, and you don't want to feel anxious, right? So if you want to like reduce those things or get rid of them, resilience is the key. So let's keep moving here. All right. So what we learned is that resilience competencies is the ability to bounce, not break. Resilient people bounce, not break when faced with an adversity or with a challenge. And then we also learned that resiliency can be developed. All right. Everyone can enhance his or her resilience by developing these MRT skills. I need you to believe that. You can enhance it. If you feel hopeless, depressed, or anxious, you can enhance your resiliency to reduce that thing. And we're going to show you how. 14 skills, 6 competencies. This is going to happen, okay? This is going to happen. Bear with me. Do the exercises. Let's go through this together. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. All right. Let's watch a video real quick.
First ever prescription depressant hit the shelves today. Approved by the FDA last month, Despondex is intended as a treatment for the approximately 20 million Americans who are insufferably cheery. Tests prove the drug is effective at reducing a range of symptoms, from squealing loudly when a friend calls to use of the phrase cool beans and excessive hugging. Dr. Alman Way calls the drug a huge step forward in the battle against exuberance.
If you're in a good mood every so often, well, that's fine. That's normal. This is for those that have a persistent positive outlook on life.
Eva Henry of New Haven, Connecticut began participating in a clinical trial of Despondex 6 weeks ago.
I was always telling people how cute their outfits were and bringing them little gifts. I'd beam at anyone who made eye contact with me. I didn't realize life didn't have to be like that.
Eva said she never knew how her annoyingly chipper attitude was affecting those around her.
Over and over again, I'd ask Jeff to ride his bike down to the botanical garden with me, no matter how many times he said no.
And she was always smiling, but I didn't know what to do to help her.
I used to think, why am I the only one trying to set up single friends with each other? And now I realize it. I was sick. I needed treatment.
Eva says the drug may have saved their marriage.
Now Jeff and I can just waste a night sitting on the couch watching a TV show neither of us enjoy, like a regular couple.
Not everyone is convinced that Despondex is the cure-all for perkiness, however. In this week's Time magazine, Michael Polosic of UCLA argues that many patients get similar results from natural remedies, something as simple as a diet of corn syrup and white bread and a total lack of exercise. But Dr. Way disagrees.
We have to erase the stigma attached with getting chirpy people help, real medical help. I mean, do you know what it's like to be around these people? It's pretty fucking annoying.
Doctors estimate the new drug could reduce the number of costume or theme parties in the U.S. by up to 40%.
All right. So what did y'all think of that video? Y'all gonna get that subscription there? Yeah, when I saw that, I was laughing. Okay, so hey, we made it. We made it to the end of the video here. It's pretty long, huh? But we'll do a check on learning here. So what is resilience? Go ahead and tell me if you remember our definition for resilience. All right, let's take away the suspense here. You can pause it and try to guess it, but I'll keep us moving along. All right, a resilient individual is one who is willing to, okay, willing to take calculated risk and or calculated necessary risk. We should underline the word necessary, and to capitalize on opportunity. Okay, a resilient individual is willing to do that. They're willing to take calculated risk, necessary risk to capitalize on a opportunity. But resilient person also has the ability to grow and thrive. All right, it's an ability. And what can they do? They can grow and they can thrive in the face of challenges even. And they can bounce back when they hit adversity, okay? So they can grow and thrive in the face of challenges and they can bounce back. So what are the 6 competencies that we learned? Check on learning. Let's see what you learned. Let's see if you could have passed that 106 question test that I had to take. All right, here we go. First one, self-awareness, right? The mirror. All right, what's the next one? We talked about an air condition. What does it do? Regulates temperature. So, yep, if you said it, self-regulation. All right, what's the third one? I'm gonna do this. Things will happen. I understand. I'm gonna push through. What is that? Optimism. Okay, the fourth one. Wow, I forgot the fourth one. Because the fifth one I know, and the last one I know. The fifth one, why am I forgetting? Okay, there we go. I forgot it. Really? Strengths of character. Okay, I thought that. Okay. Okay. I think I flipped them. It is mental agility, and then we learn strengths of character. I think I may have wrote that wrong, but that's okay. It's not bad. No. Yes, I did. But either way, still going down. So mental agility is the ability to, navigate through problems and how you view the problems and knowing it's a problem, identifying it, and knowing there's a solution. Strengths of character, using your inner strengths, knowing them, using them to your advantage to help you get through things. And then finally, connections, now understanding that you can't do it alone. You need other people. And so what are you doing to increase that ability that other people would even want to help you? Are you shunning people away? Are you creating an environment for yourself that makes you attractive to people so that you always have people in your life? And so when things go down, someone will be there. The chances of someone showing empathy to you will be higher, and you'll be able to recover you'll be able to be a tennis ball and not an egg. All right, so hey, we are going to start moving into the skill sets. Okay, this is video 1. It technically could have been 2 videos, but I made 1 video out of it. You could break it in half by pausing where the competencies started. I don't know if you did that, but if you did, great. If you stayed with me, hey, even better. I'm glad. I hope you did the exercises, but that's all I got. I hope you enjoyed this introduction to Master Resiliency, where we studied what resiliency is, and we also studied the 6 core competencies that are involved in resiliency. Now we're going to actually get into the 14 skills, okay, that you can use to help you become more resilient in various scenarios. Okay, that's all I got. Let me go ahead and close this out. Hey, I want to thank you for being here today and doing that. Stick with me. We're gonna get through this. Yeah, we'll get through this together. Okay. All right. Take care. I'll see you later.